After last week's parsha, in which Yaakov received the blessing meant for Esav, Yitzchak, at Rivka's urging, sends Yaakov to Haran, to her brother's family, so that he may find a wife and start his own family. In this week's parsha, VaYeitzey, Yaakov arrives in Haran, essentially as a refugee, fleeing from his brother Esav. His uncle Lavan takes him in, and in gratitude, Yaakov immediately sets himself to work, unwilling to live off his hosts. After a month of unpaid labor, Lavan offers him wages. After all, why should he toil without compensation? Yaakov seizes the opportunity to fulfill his parents' wishes to find a wife and asks Lavan for his daughter Rachel's hand in marriage, with whom he has already formed a deep bond. The Torah tells us that Yaakov worked 7 years for Rachel, yet those years felt like yamim achadim, a few days, because of his love for her. What does this phrase truly mean? Chizkuni explains that the passage of time is a matter of perspective. For Yaakov, each day of labor during those 7 years felt like an eternity, born out of his deep love for Rachel and the longing for their future together. Yet, when the 7 years were complete and he looked back, the time seemed to have flown by, as though it had passed in only a few days. Other commentators take the phrase more literally, suggesting that the years themselves fell short. Radak writes that Yaakov's love for Rachel placed him in such profound joy that the 7 years seemed like mere days. Bechor Shor adds that Yaakov felt he had struck a favorable bargain. He could hardly believe that only a few years of work would secure the hand of a woman of such talent and greatness. Malbim takes this idea further, noting that in his youthful innocence, Yaakov did not anticipate the burden of 7 years of labor. Yet his love for Rachel made the commitment feel light, and so he readily agreed to Lavan's terms. Mizrahi points out that this is not the first time the phrase Yamim Achadim appears in the Torah. In last week's parsha, Rivka warns Yaakov to flee to her brother in Haran and remain there for Yamim Achadim, until Esav's anger subsides. In that context, the phrase clearly does not mean a few days, but rather an extended period of time. Thus, Yaakov's stay with Lavan would last as long as necessary, until Esav's fury had finally diminished. What sustained him during this prolonged exile that lasted for Yamim Achadim was his love for Rachel, which made the distance from home and the length of his service bearable. Time, then, is relative. Each person experiences its passage differently, shaped not only by the present moment, but also by the memories and circumstances that precede it. At times, it flies by quickly. At other times, it drags on excruciatingly slow, only to seem brief in hindsight. And sometimes it is only bearable because we are sharing it with those we love. Yet whichever way we experience it, one thing remains clear. Our time here is limited. The challenge and the blessing is to make the most of the Yamim Achadim, of the days we are given. Shabbat Shalom.